Hello everyone. Before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's Log, Subdates 220629.8. With an influx of celebrities, we're having a bit of an odd attention placed upon us here, because those same celebrities are trying to power play the legal system into getting preferential treatment. So we're gonna shove them in a hot box and see what happens. Women! Welcome everyone to the Halls of Injustice. Today we welcome inmates number 131 to the ISO cubes. This inmate has been famous in the United Kingdom for most of her life, for two ginormous reasons. Stuck on her chest. Really fake, obviously, but because of her glittering personality, she has managed to stay relevant for an incredibly long time, build up a portfolio of wealth, debt, and at the same time, go through husbands like they're smarties. Was it boyfriends? You know, it doesn't matter. I guess we're just lucky really that she can't sing. She's done it before with one of her ex-husbands and proved she couldn't. Because if she could, or had any creativity bordering on the literate side, she'd write music. Maybe albums about all her ex-partners. I don't know anyone like that. I am talking of Katie Price, aka the artist formerly known as Jordan. For this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jordan, the crime she committed, and how she has somehow magically not been put in one of my ISO cubes. We will also take a look at the law itself, as there is some relevant aspects that should indicate whether she should be in prison or not. So to start, who is Big Tits? I mean Jugs, I mean Jordan, I mean Katie Price. Who is Katie Price? Katrina Amy Alexandra Alexis Infield, born in 1978, rose to fame in 1996 for her glamour modeling work and frequent appearances on Page 3 under the pseudonym Jordan. She was incredibly popular on Page 3. For those who don't know, Page 3 of newspapers was usually where women got their baps out, and somewhere on that page would be a philosophical quandary presented by, apparently, the Bap Lady. She appeared quite heavily in lads' magazines, where also the knockers were on display. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. When this kind of stuff was banned, a certain market shifted direction to personal websites and then invariably ended up on only Fupa. She's on there as well, by the way. Katie Price has been married 3 times. Her first husband, Peter Andre, who she met on the TV show I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here in 2004. They in fact were an entry for the Eurovision Song Contest, runner-up for the UK's selection. Not that we did very well that year anyway. Her second husband, Alex Reid, a mixed martial artist. Her third husband is actually the person we're going to be talking about later, so I'm going to save that for later on. None of her marriages lasted particularly long. From her marriages and a previous relationship, she has 5 children, one of whom is well known, because that child is the son of English former striker Dwight York. Not that he wants anything to do with that child, and that child is mocked heavily on social media, not least because he has a form of dysplasia, issues with his optic nerve development. He is definitely on the autistic spectrum and has Prader-Willi syndrome, which is something I cannot understand or fathom in the slightest. Among her business ventures, because she is quite the philanthropist, she has launched a range of nutritional supplements. She has her own perfume line. She signed a deal in 2008 with Derby House to launch her equestrian range of clothing. She was in fact a patron of a charity polo match near Epping in Essex. She has released a studio album. She has released a number of autobiographies over the years, some of which sold over 1 million copies. And she writes regular columns for magazines in the United Kingdom and some newspapers. She has appeared on multiple TV shows. She even, as an independent candidate in 2001, tried to become a politician. She got 713 votes. The winner got 23,836. She didn't even get a deposit back, by the way. Needless to say, Over the decades that Jordan has been around, she has been around and in the public eye for a long time. More recently, her debts have kind of spiraled, and this has led to her living in what many dub the Mucky Mansion, a home with great potential that she has not looked after. Not that anyone thought she could. She doesn't look the type to get her hands dirty. Some TV shows that she has fronted would include Katie and Peter from 2004 to 2009, her and ex-husband, a simple show called Katie from 2009 to 2012, signed by Katie Price 2011, and Katie Price, My Crazy Life from 2017 to now. And just to go back on the book thing, she has released 6 autobiographical books, 11 novels, and 2 series of children's books. I would argue all 6 of those autobiographical books should also be considered novels. And no lie, I'm still just impressed she wrote them herself. I hope some of this information has provided you an insight, because now we're going to talk about the crimes of Katie Price. For the sake of this, you need to understand that she has been caught in trouble many times. Driving is one of them. Assault, another. Bankruptcy, another. Use of substances that someone should not be ingesting like sherbet is another. And then fallout post her 3rd marriage to Kieran Haler, because there's some there as well. I want to focus on that one more than the others, so I will go through them with a level of speed. So there are a couple of crimes within Katie Price's life that have astonished people that at this point she still hasn't gone to prison. We'll start with the tamest, bankruptcy. In 2019, December, Katie Price was declared bankrupt. Her debts were listed as totaling more than £3.5 million. £2 million of that, legal fees. £1 million related to a working farm. Back in August of 2018, Katie Price had a bankruptcy hearing at High Court, which was adjourned to give her 3 months to pay off her debts through an individual voluntary arrangement. In June 2019, Horsham District Council began enforcement action against her for demolition and construction works undertaken at her property. This had concluded in October 2019, when Katie Price was given 30 days to remove the new construction and restore the demolished structures. Building without permission or license, essentially, and taking down buildings she should not have touched without permission. Now let's move on to the driving. In June 2008, Katie Price was convicted of driving while using a mobile phone. She got 3 points on her driver's license for it. It is illegal in the UK to do both because driving while talking on the phone has ended up with a lot of accidents. Turns out you're compromised when you've got one hand on the wheel and the other hand on your phone. In July 2010, Katie Price was again convicted and fined £250 for speeding. She claimed she'd been hounded by paparazzi. This was rejected by the courts. In September 2010, she was convicted for failing to be in proper control of a vehicle. In December 2010, banned from driving for 6 months by Crawley Magistrates Court. I was born in Crawley. What a lovely turd hole. In April 2012, Katie Price won an appeal against a conviction for 2 counts of failing to give information regarding a driver's identity, which was connected to speeding tickets issued to her relating to offences in London in 2011. She had argued that she had not seen the tickets as she did not open her own post. How did she win the appeal if she didn't open her own post? The onus is on her. This is injustice. In July 2015, Katie Price was convicted of failing to stop at a red light in West Grinstead, which is in West Sussex. Katie Price was given 3 points, fined £700, costs of £450 and a surcharge of £70. By the way, for driver's licenses you get 12 points and then you're banned. In February 2018, Katie Price was banned for driving for 6 months after totting up all of those points on her licence. In July 2018, she reported herself to the police for driving while disqualified. That was very good of her. In January 2019, Katie Price faced a 3-month ban on driving after breaching the conditions of a previous ban. The ban was then extended an additional 3 months because her blood alcohol level tested nearly twice the legal limit. Katie Price had been found in the backseat of a vehicle in August of 2018 after it crashed, but charges of being drunk in charge were dropped due to lack of evidence. In October 2019, Katie Price was convicted of failing to provide details of the driver of the vehicle involved and was banned from driving for 2 years, reduced to 18 months. In September 2021, Katie Price was taken to hospital after a car crash. This incident took place near her home in Horsham. Later that month, Katie Price pleaded guilty to driving drunk without insurance and while disqualified. In December 2021, she was given a 16-week suspended sentence, with a condition of unpaid work and a 2-year driving ban. The judge at the time noted that Katie Price had one of the worst driving records she had ever seen. Well, she's still allowed to drive, so clearly this isn't getting through to her. In February 2019, Kitti Price admitted to having used sherbet for 6 months as a result of stress in 2018. Thankfully, she sought out voluntary treatment at the Priory. Now on to assault and abuse convictions. In October 2003, Kitti Price had charges against her for an alleged assault in a nightclub. These were then dropped because the police failed to arrest her within the statutory limit of 12 weeks. Yes, our police were eating donuts. In September 2009, Kitti Price had claimed that she had previously been touched, inappropriately, yes, that one, R word, by a famous celebrity, but had not reported the incident, further stating that she would absolutely never reveal who the attacker was. Because of this, nothing happened. Just gonna put that there. In June 2019, Kitti Price was fined after shouting abuse at Michelle Pentecost. Michelle Pentecost is the current partner of Kieran Hayler. Kieran Hayler is Kitti Price's third ex-husband. This happened in a school playground in West Sussex. Kitti Price was issued with a 5-year restraining order which banned her from making any contact with Michelle Pentecost. She was also ordered to pay £606 in fines and court costs. As I mentioned earlier, this now features Kieran Hayler. This is where we're now going, because in May 2022, Kitti Price pled guilty at Lewes Crown Court for breaching the restraining order after sending abusive text messages to Kieran Hayler about Michelle Pentecost. And this is where we are now. How Kitti Price hasn't gone to prison yet is astonishing, because in this one, yet again, it comes down to, much like not looking at her own mail, her fundamental not understanding of the restraining order, and I wish I was joking. But no, it turns out she really didn't understand it, which I think is an excuse and she should just be made an example of. When you breach a restraining order, you look at a very serious sentence. So it is understandable when Kieran Hayler and Michelle Pentecost are disappointed. It's because Kitti Price did not receive a custodial term. Judge Stephen Mooney even acknowledged that the breach of this restraining order cannot be considered a minor breach, but conceded that balancing the aggravating and mitigating factors, the appropriate sentence is a medium-level community order, which are about as threatening as getting an ASBO. When the sentence was delivered and Kitti Price left the court while telling photographers to F off, Kieran Hayler and Michelle Pentecost had said that we are incredibly disappointed with the result of today's hearing. We feel a custodial sentence would have sent the right message to the public given the seriousness of Miss Price's offending. Repeat offending, by the way. Earlier this year, she was done because she had flipped her car while drunk and high on sherbet. This bish is crazy, and she is still not in prison, which is quite impressive. So what was Kitti Price's misunderstanding of the restraining order? Well, it turns out Kitti Price's misunderstanding was she thought the restraining order applied to Michelle Pentecost as well, and that when Michelle had posted something to Instagram, that was a shot at her and therefore a breach of the restraining order, which meant in turn that it was open season for criticism from Kitti Price in the form of text messages to Kieran Hayler. I took the liberty of explaining this one to my sister earlier. My sister is dyslexic, and she said if she was dyslexic, she gives the rest of us a bad name. I couldn't agree more. But I think in this case, Kitti Price is just stupid. Just an FYI, if you are convicted of breaching a restraining order, the maximum penalty one can receive is 6 months in prison. I tend to think that Kitti Price, aka Jordan, should be in prison for all 6 of those months, regardless of any mitigating factors away from this. She should have thought of those before she decided she was above the law, or before she decided that she was too stupid to understand the law.